Good afternoon and half a day. The Committee on General Government Operation and Housing is now called to order. Today is Thursday, December 3rd. The time now is 4:02. Welcome to everyone connected by Zoom and those tuning in via television or the YouTube channel. Thank you for your patience and for accommodating this Zoom platform while we maintain social distancing mandates. Notices for this public hearings were disseminated via email to all senators and all main media broadcasting outlets on Friday, November 20th, and again on Monday, November 30th. The following bill will be entertained this afternoon, and it's Bill number 268-35, introduced by Senator Kelly Mars Taitano, co-sponsored by Speaker Tina Rose Munoz Barnes, Senator Jose Pito Terlay, Senator Clinton Rigel, myself, Senator Therese Terlay, and Senator Sabina Flores Perez. An act to add a new section 1039 to Chapter 10, Title 1, Guam Code Annotated, relative to recognizing and celebrating Manatsu Sia on the second day in September. General rules of conduct. The Zoom meeting is hosted by my staff and will mute all Zoom participants until called upon by myself. Members of the committee and or non-committee members wishing to speak may indicate their desire to me through the in-app chat feature. Individuals testifying shall first be recognized by me before speaking and begin by stating their name for record keeping purposes when called to speak. Please ensure that you are unmuted. Committee members will be allowed to pose a question to an individual testifying. Questions and testimonies shall be confined to the substance or nature of the agenda of the bill. Personal inference as to the character or the motive of any senator or any individual testifying is not permitted. Any violation of this general rule of conduct will result in removal from the public hearing by the host. Please ensure that your video remains on throughout the hearing. Participants must be visible at all times and not engage in other activities during the hearing. If you have to take a drink, there's not a problem there. Or snacks, not a problem. But at least maintain visibility. Failure to maintain visibility may cause your removal from the meeting live stream. Just to let everybody know that everybody that's linked up to this public hearing and future public hearings that I will be chairing will be allowed to be put on the chat, because we found out from previous hearings is that anybody that if you're not on the screen, you can't hear what testimony is being presented. So we're trying to eliminate that in the future. I'd like to thank my colleagues for attending this hearing, and I'd like to recognize Senator Kelly Mars Taitano is here today, the author of the bill. We have Senator Telo Taigui, the minority leader. We have Senator Pito Terlay here. I will ask Senator Taitano to please give her opening statement. Ma'am.
Seduas Maasi, Mr. Chair, and my opening statement is a little detailed, but I promise you my closing statement is only 2 sentences, so I'm balancing it out that way. So, as we should, we all know who Martin Luther King Jr. is. We all know who Susan B. Anthony is and who Harriet Tubman is. This is in no small part because they are recognized each and every year by official holidays, as is the case for Martin Luther King Jr., and days of recognition, as is the case for Susan B. Anthony and Harriet Tubman. It is very possible that as seminal as they have been to transforming US history and our daily lives, our civil rights, and our respect for and inclusion of one another as fellow citizens and fellow human beings, that the majority of us would not know who these stalwart historical figures are without those annual days of commemoration. As a result, not having those days, our lives would be less rich. We would have less understanding of ourselves as a nation and as a society, and their names and their admirable accomplishments would possibly be lost to the vagaries of time instead of inspiring the best in us as we move forward individually and together. Just as important as it is for each of us to know of such people and of their overcoming such struggles for more fairness and respect for one another nationally and globally, it is important for us to understand how members of our community have contributed to that great arc of history. To know how Chamorros and the people of Guam have thrived, excelled, and struggled to overcome challenges of all kinds, to inspire our youth and others to continue striving for a better tomorrow based on strong principles and sound causes. We often discuss and wonder at those in society who have lost their way. As we know, we have high rates of suicide, drug abuse, and crime, including domestic abuse and assault. A day of commemoration like this in and of itself won't solve everything, but it is one more element of validation, inspiration, and pride that what our agency experts and others say is needed to help combat these issues along with other measures. Bill 268-35 is an act to recognize and celebrate I Manmanatsu Siha on the second day of September. I Magahaga shall issue a proclamation annually calling upon the peoples of Guahan to observe Ha'anan I Manmanatsu Siha Puri Tautautanu. And I Commission I Fino Tomorrow Zani Fananagwan I Historia Zani Lanatla Tautautanu, or the Commission on Chamorro Language and the Teaching of the History and Culture of the Indigenous People of Guam, shall plan and make appropriate arrangements for the observance of this day, including to delegate such planning to an appropriate entity. Chamorros and the people of Guam have a lengthy history of standing up for the people of Guam, from ancestral times to the present. Most of us have heard of Horao, Kapuha, and perhaps a few others. But our history is replete with women and men who deserve to have their accomplishments, their life's work, and the advances they strove for recognized. For example, in the 1600s, Felipa Azizi, at the age of 12, negotiated a pardon with the Spanish governor for her uncle, Olanok, a warrior who had fought to retain his traditional way of life and sovereignty. During the Spanish administration in 1874, Luis Narciso Baza, along with priests and other locals, held Spanish Governor Moscoso accountable for his abuse to the people of Guam and the people of the Marianas by winning a case in the Spanish tribunal, which found Moscoso guilty of numerous charges. Because of that advocacy by the people of Guam, as a result, Moscoso had to pay the full expenses of his trial. He was permanently disqualified from public service, as well as exiled from the Marianas, the Philippines, and Spain's capital city of Madrid for his entire life. The Guam legislature would not be here today in its 35th term without the efforts of people like Francisco B. Leon Guerrero, Baltazar J. Bordallo, my father-in-law Carlos Pangilinan Titano, Antonio B. Wonpat, Laura Thompson, and others who strongly advocated for self-government in the mid-1900s. And the list goes on of those who have stood up for the people of Guam. It is a list of whom we know far too few. Many of us participated in the Black Lives Matter movement and other movements this year. We see that there is still much to advocate here and elsewhere. Let us remember those who paved the way for us on Guam by commemorating them. Let us pave the way to inspire others to continue to stand up for a better tomorrow for all of us. Sizuas Maasi, Mr. Chair, for letting me provide that opening statement.
Thank you, Senator Kelly. Very good show of information. That's good history for us. I'd like to recognize that we have in the to testify today. We have Tristan Cantaniza, We got Anne Marie Maria Arceo. We also have Mr. Edward Leonguero. I'm not too sure if Ed's from Derido. If he is, then he's from the Natsa family, if he's from Derido. And I'm very familiar with that family if it's from Derido. But anyway, we'll begin with, we'll start with Tristan. All right, Tristan, are you ready? Yeah. Cantonesa?
Yes, sir.
All right, and then you'll be followed by Anne Marie and then Mr. Ed Leonguero. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. And I'm just going to read the letter of support that I submitted to your office. So, the idea of setting aside a day of the year to honor icons, heroes, and role models of the Chamorro community is an excellent one. The fact that the holiday would be placed on the anniversary of the Finogi March of 2019 is a great touch as well. It is a typical and normal thing for tight-knit communities like ours to establish holidays aimed at celebrating exceptional local individuals. Take a look at any country, state, or small town, and you're likely to find that they've done just that. The fact that we are only doing so now is a bit of a shock. I feel that this bill is necessary because our community has given rise to many excellent individuals whose stories deserve to be retold and proliferated. The Chamorro community has produced civil rights heroes, musicians, artists, activists, scholars, builders, geniuses, you name it. If there is a profession or a righteous path, odds are that someone from our community has pursued it and made noteworthy contributions to humanity. Our community is also hurting. Domestic violence, homelessness, sexual assault, depression, anxiety, among other unfortunate social ills have been on the rise within our community. These things have the unfortunate side effect of diminishing our self-esteem. For that reason, it is important that the lives and accomplishments of our heroes must be shared, because such stories have the beautiful effect of raising our collective pride. To young Chamorro children, especially those themselves in unfortunate living circumstances, seeing that a member of their community has successfully become a doctor or a lawyer, it's a life-changing experience. It is the realization that they have the potential to become anything, that they have inherent value. This is what this bill seeks to accomplish, and what will make this holiday different from something like, say, Mes Chamorro. Mes Chamorro is a time of year where we seek to perpetuate our culture, but this holiday would be aimed specifically at celebrating icons of our community, valid and important enough that they warrant separate dates dedicated to them. Icons like Father Duenas, Chief Matapang, and Angel Santos deserve to be celebrated. I am reminded of the story of Maria Mariquita Perez Howard, the titular character of Chris Perez Howard's novel Mariquita. In it, he chronicles the life story of his late mother, who in 1930s Guam stood out as a well-educated woman with an astute observation of Guam's colonial status. To think that anyone living on Guam in the 1930s, especially a Chamorro woman, would not only question the constitutionality of Guam's administration by the Navy, but openly and unapologetically acknowledge undemocratic and autocratic nature is outstanding and inspiring. Many might assume that all of pre-war Guam was submissive and perhaps ignorant to the injustices being committed against them. The story of Mariquita exposes the truth. No matter the time, no matter the situation, whenever injustices have been committed against the Chamorro people, there were those among us who could see hypocrisy for what it is, to acknowledge it rather than dismiss it or turn a blind eye. Sometimes the very act of acknowledging wrongdoing is heroic in and of itself. And for that reason, the story of Mariquita is an inspiration for women, Chamorros, and all Pacific Islanders who have felt the boot of colonialism stomp on their shoulders. Had I not read the novel, her story would have remained unknown to me, as it is for most people. Knowing her story has bolstered my confidence in myself and in the limitless potential of the Chamorro people. That is why we must celebrate these heroes, we must retell their stories, and we must bolster our national pride, the pride of the Chamorro people. And thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Tristan. I really appreciate that. Anne Maria Arceo. Yes, very good one. Please, ma'am, if you could.
Okay, si Dusmasi, Senador San Agustin, Guahu si Ana Marie Blas Arceo, Guahu administradora pago gi komisioni Finatumoru, gagizo guini para be representa i komision, deni mangeo i komision si Senora Hope Cristobal, si Dr. Laura Souders and i pomalo ni mangagi i mangelo i komision. Gagizo guini para be testigo na infavoreci esti na priniponi i numero 268-35. I octu ni baha recognisa da po celebra i manmanatu sia guini gidia 2 gi Septembri. Sempre by hu tai toru palo fino tomorrow then palo fino English caravaya duda hamduni ti gef comprendilo hamduni comprendi por favor attituzi da gogogowi sinapot timizu. Senador Pido Nyot Tidus Masi, Senadora Tello, Senadora Kelly Sidus Maasi Nesti Parona Huzum, Tristan Dan Edward Malik Mule Hamdu Talu Sidus Masi. Pasin Hafamas Vayu Tutuhon. Ma Supopoti Nui Commission Estina Kinantin, I Paroma Onra Adusia. Nui manogi hulu pare dirisota sia, domatsonek hafa sia man maulik pare tautaguahan, distiki tati tiamponan shanu, este ki presenti. Dinanzi na parata recognisa esti sia, iti man maabiba sia na man ganador, itanota, i lenguahita, i historiatas ni kulturata, entri todo i siklu siha, nan man mahatmihit, the Commission supports this effort to honor those who have stood up for the rights and to advocate for the well-being of the people of Guam from ancestral times to the present. It is fitting to recognize these unsung champions of our land, language, history, and culture through centuries of colonization and struggle. Hassan naman maripara ita tu adusia iman manhahat sa nasyon. Minaganya biyay timan manay no ibinali sa ni nagradesi imenen halum na tatu niya gihinat sa ni adusia na hinasu no necessaryo para mafana sa ni menagahit. Hasesadi estina kinalantin zan priniponi na umagef attendi za umaonra siya nui komunidata put todo ipinelo ni tetsu niya gwinigi islata. Nation builders are often unseen. Their critical work and contribution in raising consciousness about issues and confronting power with truth is largely undervalued and unappreciated. This act allows our island community to focus and pay tribute to their legacy. Ginen entero y corazón mami gi comisión in supporti estina finatinas lai za inabiba y pumatlinuzi za mahasu esti. We wholeheartedly support this legislation and commend its sponsors for their mindfulness. Sizo Masi.
Almost, Senadora. Mr. Edward Longuero, I'm just curious, are you from Dededo, sir? Are you the North Clan or are you the other Longuero group in Dededo? Or another village?
Hello, Senator. If, no, I'm not from Dededo, but if that's going to give me brownie points, I could say I'm from Dededo.
Only because you're facial, but please go ahead and testify. Thank you, sir.
All right. No, thank you very much. So, buenos and half a day, senators. For the record, my name is Edward Leon Guerrero, and I'm not from Dededo. And I'm just an average island boy who really cares about our people, culture, and environment. And this is my first ever public testimony, and I'm in support of Bill 268-35. On September 2nd, 2019, a historic event occurred in the Marianas. It was the Finogi March for Chamorro Self-Determination. And unlike Brian Williams, I was actually there. On that day, I bared witness to the culmination of all the sacrifices, work, and hardship of current and generations of Tomorrow activists before me. And they will forever have my undying gratitude because against all the mocking, negativity, and criticism, they never gave in. They never gave in to the overwhelming desire to give up. And I know how frustrating and disheartening it is to give yourself over to a seemingly impossible cause. Sometimes we even believe that our actions affect nothing. But against all odds, they continued the fight. And as a direct result, my generation and the coming generations are more aware and loud as ever. At the march, I saw hundreds gather. People who I never expected to see marched. People who were rivals walked side by side in solidarity for a greater cause than any personal rivalry or individual. Even if self-determination won't happen in our lifetimes, let's commemorate all the work of the past and current activists in order to inspire our children as they have for us, so that one day they will carry on the movement and plant the flag that we hoisted. I have often regretted my silence, but never my speech. So do you not see that you, as well as I, know that as the decades decline and as we become old and the memories of our lives are forgotten, this event will always be remembered as Ha'ana ni Memanatsu Siha po Itautatanu. Sedus Masi.
Thank you, Ed. Thank you very much, Mr. Longuero. Senator Kelly, if I'm correct, I think you have a testimony you wanted to read that was sent to you. And did we get a copy also of it? I want to make sure all their colleagues that are here are able to get a copy. If not, if you can please send it and we can at least attach it onto the chat feature. But please, if you do have that testimony, please read it.
Okay, yes, I believe it was sent to your office, and so it should be with the set of testimony that are there. So this is on behalf of Muñeca de Oro. Hafide Todos Hamzu, Guahu si Muñeca de Oro Familian Jeje, Manatsai Zancalvo Loqui, si Jus Maasi Nitodu I Bidan Mitu para I Eslata Zan I Tautata. Zani Jus Maasi para Umekonok, Zu Pagu na Haani. Malagu zu by Sangan go Zahu esti na legislation Puti Bill 268-35. Debbie di ta onra zan tatuna mas imanauta motna siha put todu ma munya iham zan islata. It always goes better when I practice at home alone. Sedus maasi marsh taitino for your vision and guidance in the creation of this fine legislation. We have several holidays that we observe throughout the year that have little to do with our experiences and livelihoods as people of this island. We only have 1 month to celebrate the history, culture, language, and the 4,000-year legacy of the original people of this island, Itautau Tsomoru. There is much more that needs to be done to further protect and perpetuate the Chamorro connection to our sacred homelands. The last almost 5 centuries of uninterrupted colonial subjugation has transformed lands and of course our minds, hearts and spirits in many ways. However, no colonial power will ever destroy our inherent bonds to our lands. These islands from Danu, which is Kokotin, to Maok, one of the northernmost islands in the archipelago, are a part of DNA And we need to honor all those who have laid down and died protecting them for us and for future generations. There are many Chamorros and settlers who have devoted their livelihoods or their professional careers to uplifting and ensuring that our environment and culture are safeguarded. The establishment of this holiday will honor Imam Fadzi. As curriculum writer, educator, and former GDOE teacher, the prospect of the holiday, Manatsu Siha, on every September 2nd is so vital and exciting. There are many ways in which this holiday can be celebrated. Many voices and many people from our island and within our families that will be venerated through this holiday. Outside of a few statues and a few schools and government buildings with local namesakes, there is not much else that exists to fully recognize all those who are true heroes of our island. All you senators have a unique opportunity to better honor our own people. There is no need for money in fulfilling this bill's mandate, and there is so much to gain when we highlight more stories of our island heroes. Put for vote, please pass Bill 268-35. Our island's children and future generations will be better for it. And years from now, you all may be honored on this special day. Sidus Baasi Munyaka. So I only have my 2 sentences for closing, but I do want to clarify for legislators, for the senators here, the difference between a day of commemoration and holiday. So it's a day of commemoration. It won't be a holiday which necessitates, having a day off. At this point, it's a day of commemoration. So I wanted to clarify that. And it's for all people who stood up for Guam, whether they're on island, off island, Chamorro, and others, because it really takes all of us to fight for the rights and the well-being of all of our community. Now my 2 sentences.
Before that, I'm going to ask if any of our colleagues would like to ask any questions, Senator Kelly.
That's true.
Any comments or anything?
Yeah.
Senator Pilo, ako ni masamko ginigi barkada.
Jo antes de be empatia for pabaysangan, jana be nai dangklun na si Zusma si Christine Cantanilla, si Edward Leon Guerrero, jan ichiluta loki si Anne Marie. Sa edu na posisyon ya goguti si Anne Marie tumilong jan estinabio. Za megay ja hamju benti ti humasuju ne ane malaguju pasigundo gubenu za umami jan Senzo Santos. Jo acepta onsi na tauto man marikomenda po dana jan Senzo Santos mine tempo. Za guahu Senzo Santos ajik para segundo gobyerno guihi tatin na tempo. Sa akomprendi si Enjo na hininggeko pareho jan estinabio. Mega siya man manunsya gwini na bio anyasangan si Kelly Mars, sa dangklo na si Zeus Marcy Kelly Mars. Sa mega eji siya kana todo inaan yung nanunsya gwini na momento, esta man mapur siya na manaynata. Guaha eji mataya papa sa mapuno sa timang pareho hinengi. Guaha eji kontinua mumasapi ni po empati todo mas iminaulig para tau-tauta. Sa eji na anyoaso malago para mayor, malago para senador, estigi na fundamento na malalago jo. Iparatahaso tati siya edu siya na tau-tau i kumontra i tau-tau sanhidung siya. Zagwao pago na tempo tiu kokontra i tau-tau sanhidung no at babansa muna ininggeta kumuman tau-tau estihit. Za ejigi na tumatotsu di esti pago na momento sa haga su kumprendi na tanisisita muna panlala edu siya dominguhit gini kita nota. Za muna sina tana panlala ahi tipo panlala talo tati lopo panlala yan niya pega siya konfiansa niya na estigi dinansi para tao-tao ta. Za dangkulo na si Jesus Marsi, Jo San Agustin, utungwa na kada komento sa unsangan ni Dapto, za Jo komprendi sa hagasid mita gi policeman, hagasid mita gi militar, za pareo loki ng utungwa na manungyo, gwini gi estina bio, sa at babansa mona si Kelly Mars, lo estigi, Inglaterra, it's ironic that somebody that is not a Chamorro that wrote this bill. No? Ja dangkulo na si Jesus Marsi para si Kelly, jagagi gini loki si Telo. Amku itatana si Telo Paraguay, lo comprendia loki itatana si Telo. Na haga sa mumumji esti idirisota kumu man Chamorro. Ja estia besangan si Jesus Marsi ang jutoro ja perdia. Ta continua manafacturai naso, ta continua managote kanay, ta continua mumensiona edusya man mapusya na manaynata ni afanui mona tay mano para advansa mona i kulturata como mansamoro. Si Jesus Marsi. Thank you, Joe. Thank you.
Thank you, Jesus Marci, Pido, Lana Bonito, La Mo. I'll ask Senator Tello, Minority Leader, ma'am, if you'd like to make any comments or ask any of the folks testifying.
Well, probably no, I think a lot of my questions were answered, but si Diyos Masi, Pido, for your comments. Donkalu si Diyos Masi, and thank you, Mr. Chair, as well, for the opportunity. I had a question, actually, because the bill establishes an annual day of recognition on the second day of September for those who stood up for the rights and protections and advancement of the people. And my question was, for the record, what is the significance of September 2nd? And Mr. Cantanella, Tristan, thank you for clarifying that for me, coming from you. And hearing that it stemmed from the Fanhogi March. So there's my answer to one of the questions that I had. And the other one you also answered was for reference, identified individuals who may be recognized as having stood up and fought for the Chamorro people, and you answered that too as well. But I'd like to ask Anne-Marie, you've been such an advocate. I mean, you are a person who we should be recognizing and thanking, keeping our language alive through our children and all the other things that you do for our culture and our identity. Adonkalut si Diyos Masi, for what you're doing. And, I'm hoping that, well, the way I see it, any bill that recognizes the people of Guam or people helped people from Guam, the Chamorro people, deserve to be recognized. And I don't think it should just be on September 2nd. I think it should be also on a day that we've set aside as our Guam History and Chamorro Heritage Day, which is celebrated as a public holiday on the first of Monday of March annually. And I think that maybe we can incorporate Senator Marsh's bill and incorporate it in during Chamorro Heritage Day, and also putting recognition, not just in September, but we can do it as in March. So I think any opportunity that we can recognize those who helped our people, and especially those who keep our culture and heritage alive like you do, Anne-Marie, should always be recognized every year, maybe twice a year now. If this law if it becomes law in September, then I hope to also thank you again in March as well. So I think if anybody's listening who oversees the Guam History and Chamorro Heritage Day, that we incorporate this bill to be recognized as well and give it recognition. Mr. Leon Guerrero, thank you so much. I hope this is the first of many times that you come and testify and speak so passionately like you did on this bill. We definitely could hear it, not just on the words that you stated, but in your voice, you could hear it, your passion. And I hope this is the beginning of many times you come and testify. So I thank you so much for having the courage to do so. and coming on. So Sejus Masi, for everyone who's here testifying again, Donglu Sejus Masi. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Senator Tello.
If
And,
I could also clarify, if that's all right, Mr. Chair, just to give a little bit
Yes.
more detail. So, you know, we really scratched our head and we looked at every possible day of the year almost from January 1st, you know, to December 31st, just trying to find a fit somewhere. And part of why September 2nd was the one that we settled on is because kids usually get to school, they start the new school year in Guam around August 16th. And so in those early days of getting settled in and having something to look forward to and kind of start your year off with a bang, it just fit in nicely with the September 2nd, where it would give kids a few, you know, a couple weeks to settle in, a couple weeks to be working towards something that could hopefully inspire them and get them set on a very positive foot for the rest of the school year. And I agree with you. Yeah, every day is a day we should be taking time to celebrate our own, you know, our own people here who have worked so hard for our community in so many very ways. And so certainly in Mes Chamorro, and I think the more often we do this, just like in the US, you know, 4th of July, it's not everything. We have President's Day, we have all kinds of other days, and each one, although nowadays they become reasons to sell sheets and pillowcases, but really the intention is supposed to be that each one is supposed to have a special day of reflection. But I appreciate your great support in this kind of intent and the other days of celebrating Chamorro culture and local people and events, minority leader. So just Mr. Chair.
Thank you very much, Senator Taitano, and for Mr. Leonguero. Great. I'm happy to see that this is the first time for you, and exactly what Senator Tello brought up. We hope to see you often. You're a political science graduate, so I'm hoping to see you often here. So, and I know Anne Marie would love, and with Tristan, we need to keep this going. Exactly as Senator Pito mentioned. You know, when he was running with Angel, Promosi Angels, and we just gotta stay focused. I apologize with all the budget going on. We're finally going to do this bill 268, and with timing correct, and we've got the testimony online. Hopefully, we can wrap this committee report and get it into session so we can get it passed. Because I see Senator Tello's in support of it so far. And I think it'll work out and we can get it. And we need to recognize both the month of March also, and exactly what she said. But coincidentally, Tristan, you brought up the issue why September 2nd became the day to use. And I welcome that. And there being no other individuals to present further testimony in this bill. Senator Kelly, did you want to close or was that your closing? And if that's so, I can close this up real quick.
Okay, it's 2 sentences, just like I've been promising.
No problem. You got it. You got the floor.
Is not just a matter of reflecting on the past, but also to provide inspiration for our youth and future generations. If we show them what has been achieved, we will motivate them to reach even higher. To everyone here.
Thank you, Senator Kelly. There being no additional individuals to present further testimony in this bill, the committee will continue to receive testimony for any additional information or public testimony. And you may submit that testimony to the mailroom of the Guam Legislature in the Guam Congress Building or through email at senatorjoesaugustine@gmail.com. Again, I want to thank everyone for attending the public hearing and for providing feedback and suggestion. The public hearing is now adjourned. The time now is 4:41 p.m. Sizus maasi. Finatumido todo. Stay safe, wear your mask, wash your hands, and practice social distancing. We're almost out of the pandemic, and everybody, please stay safe. Love to see you in Christmas and in the future. Thank you. Good night.